30 minutes of power.
Welcome to 30 Minutes of Power, a podcast dedicated to educate, encourage, and inspire godly people to use their power to empower others. Join your hosts, Jori O'Neill and Nicole Salter, as they share powerful insights on how you can use your God-given talents and gifts to make a positive impact in the world.
What's going on, everybody? Jori O'Neill here, and this is the live recording of 30 Minutes of Power, TOP, your one-stop shop for all things encouraging, motivating, and inspirational. With me, your girl, Jori O'Neill. Nicole will be joining us momentarily, but to kick things off, I started a live earlier today talking about gifts and the purpose of your gifts and how they're not rooted in your identity. And so I actually wanted to come on here to kind of prime the conversation that Nicole and I are going to have. I am studying a lot of things out right now concerning my character, just lack of discipline, how to utilize my gifts in a way that doesn't cause arrogance, but instead is able to build and encourage others and inspire others, right? Like the whole premise of this podcast is to encourage and inspire people. And so what Nicole and I are actually going to be doing for the remainder of this year, we're going to be sharing some of the things that we're personally doing, sharing our gifts, and then sharing some different ways that we are leaning into curiosity. We are leaning into exploration and leveling up our ability and kind of shifting some of the responsibilities that we have or that we find ourselves having over to artificial intelligence. And so same premise, same idea, same good feels, right? Same biblical principles, same practicals you're going to get. But we are going to slightly shift the podcast toward the direction of understanding how artificial intelligence is actually helping. Because a lot of people are confused about what it is, and everyone thinks it's all everything. If you say AI, the first thing that comes to mind is ChatGPT, which is great. That just means that ChatGPT has done its job in terms of marketing. But there's a plethora of other AI software tools. Even Google, right, now has AI, Copilot, things of that nature. And so we're going to be taking this time to slowly transition. You're going to see probably a new tagline in the new year. You're going to see a couple of new things. Don't be alarmed. Letting you know now, there's going to be a shift. Not too crazy. The goal is always, though, to inspire and encourage people to use their power to empower others. And so we're going to be shifting the focus of the podcast toward what does that empowerment look like when we leverage AI. And so I wanted to start off by, I guess, sharing a couple of things that I am reading right now. I'm reading Torrey Roberts' book, Balance. He wrote it at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. And it's a very timely read, I would say. Currently, I think my lack of balance has exposed itself, my lack of focus, my lack of ability to maintain attention for too long. They've all kind of just kind of like hit itself like to a point. It's gotten to a point where last week I had to take a mental health day. Nothing wild was happening. I just felt out of balance. Ironically, this was before I even started reading the book Balance. I download Audible books probably maybe like 2-3 months in advance. I go through them, I sample them, I see, okay, where am I and what do I think I'm going to need like 2-3 months from now? And so I get like credits every month on Audible. And so I bought this book, I want to say maybe 2 months ago. Again, God is amazing. I didn't know that I would be reading it this time of my life. I didn't know that maybe 3 days before I actually start reading it and push play in Audible, that I would need a mental health day. So I didn't come on here at all last week, and we haven't done any live recordings or live shows or podcasts in a little bit. You've been getting my one-off interviews that I've had with people over the year, just trying to tie up loose ends for the end of the year, and any interviews that I've had with individuals who I think you all would find help, encouragement, inspiration. Those are the ones I'm going to share. And so following interviews, you'll probably hear at the beginning of next year. But I wanted to, again, just share where I am. I think a lot of the posts that I have are centered around the good things that God is doing. I don't think I share so often some of the struggles and the pitfalls that I have. I do struggle with mental health, and that's been the case since probably high school. And I had gone to therapy for years, both individual therapy, and I went to therapy with Ron. There's some rocky spots in our marriage. You'll hear more about that in the new year. Possibly we might be joining forces to write a book, but that's still praying about that. But I realize that I'm not even balanced with what I'm sharing with you all. I share the good stuff, I share the happy stuff, the family and the promotion and the books and but and then like, what about the dark times? What about the sad times? What about the times of frustration, the times of overwhelm? I don't always share those because they don't make me look good. I'll be honest with you, like, don't paint me in the best light. But I'm realizing that part of balance is being okay with where I am, regardless of where I am, and being able to share that and share that with clarity, not as a way to garnish sorrow or like I don't want your sympathy. I just want to share that this is where I am. These are the struggles that I have. These are some of the problems that I'm facing, because maybe you are facing the same problems and you like, hey, yo, I'm with you. And as I learn and grow, and as God helps me to come out of these things and pulls me out of the muck and the mire, and I share, well, this is what I did, this is what I heard, this is what I read, this is what I studied out. Hopefully that'll give you some insight into things that you could do, right? Practicals that you could do to, I guess, kind of come to the same place. So what am I going to be talking about today? Gifts. I started this morning talking about gifts. Part of being balanced, and this is what I'm learning from reading Torrey Roberts' book, is that if I don't practice solitude, not loneliness, but solitude, if I don't nourish my soul, if I don't take time out to quiet the noise and to quiet the busyness, even the good busyness, right? The writing the books and the helping coach people and the teaching inner city youth, like, these are all good things. But if they squeeze and suffocate me and there's no more room, then all these good things actually become bad things, because I'm not making space for my soul to even acknowledge that I'm off balance, right? And so part of what he shares in his book is that when you are in balance, to be in balance is to identify both, not as just self-development, but soul development. And I thought that was pretty cool. He said, like, you're not just developing yourself, but you're also developing your soul. And so I think about, what does it mean to develop the soul? I start thinking about ways that I try to find and get grounded. How am I grounding myself? What am I doing to ground myself? When I say ground myself, I mean, like, what am I doing to get in contact with reality, this time space continuum right now? Like, how am I being present? I've been in a couple of different rooms as of late, different workshops. And one of the things, and it's ironic, one of the things that a lot of folks who are innovating with AI, they say that they're using AI to become more human. Now, to hear that sounds bananas, like, wait, hold on, nah, you're bugging. But in actuality, AI is removing a lot of the brain fog. It's removing a lot of the things that are taking over my mental capacity, my space. When I go on social media, for me, I'll know if I'm balanced or not if I'm scrolling for about an hour aimlessly on all sorts of platforms, just randomly consuming, versus being super strategic and intentional about why I came here, what did I come here for, and then we in and we out. Right. And that's for me, because if I allow myself to become overwhelmed with the noise and the busyness of life, I am no longer present. I am fearful of the past, or I am anxious about the future. But I am no longer content in the present. And so that's what I mean when I say being grounded. I mean, I am here, I am present, and I am able to feel and be with and around all that God has blessed me with. Right? I don't know if you've ever experienced it yourself, or even Nicole, when you are present but distant, where you're physically there, but your mind is somewhere else. Either it's in the past of something that happened, or it's future thinking, and you're growing anxious and fearful and worried. You are no longer grounded. You're no longer present. And so Torrey Roberts, in his book Balance, he speaks about that. He speaks about making solitude time to become self-full. And I was like, self-full? He says, yes. Self-full is different than selfish. When you are selfish, everything is about you. It's almost like narcissism, right? But when you are self-full, it's similar to putting on the oxygen mask on an airplane when the cabin pressure decreases. You take care of you first. And by doing so, you're now in a position to then help others. And so the space that I had gotten to last week, Wednesday, where I had to take a mental health day, I was all off. I was running and chasing and striving, and just fear was driving and motivating me to do things, to engage in stuff, to go in places. And it was a fear of just financial success, if I'm being transparent, right? There has been a lot of doors that God has opened as of late, but I have to always stay grounded in the fact that my resources do not dictate my financial success. God alone does. I know that's tough when you're like, well, I'm having a hard time paying my bills, or, groceries are getting tough and it's hard to feed a large family. I get you. I hear you. But there is a peace that comes from trusting God and God alone that I can't even explain. I can't describe it. The only thing I can say is that when my focus is off and I am out of balance, everything is a concern. Everything becomes a worry. Everything brings anxiety. And there is something that I read in John Maxwell's Leadership Bible that talks about the enemy of your future success is your current accomplishments. And so when you focus so much on what you've done, the work of your hands, that anything that God is trying to get you to do now becomes this tumultuous task that's like, oh, I can't do that. That's way, it's because you're focused on your strength, not God's. And so that's where I found myself. I was like, I have no idea how this is supposed to happen. I see the door opening, but like, how do I, where do I? And I was literally going everywhere except to God, literally everywhere. On the internet, I was talking to the chat GPT, I was hollering at coaches, I was going everywhere except to God. And so Wednesday, I took a mental health day. I said, you know what? Not going to work. I can't. I'm going to sit. I'm going to get grounded. I'm going to be okay with being alone, with my thoughts, with my fears, with my doubts, with my concerns. I'm going to be alone with them. And then once I'm able to touch them and identify them, I'm going to surrender them over to God. And I can't even, the peace that came from just doing that. And then the mental clarity that came. And The next day, I got requested to do a speaking gig, 4 to 5 interviews of just interviewing people, like talking, kind of like doing this, right? That equaled my check. I don't know if you follow me. I've been trying to make this transition from full-time teacher to entrepreneur. And literally, I prayed, I gave everything to God. I said, you know what? I had a goal, 10K a month. And I was like, you know what, God? I actually don't need 10K a month. Like, my husband got a dope job. I make okay money, like doing my entrepreneurial things. We don't even need that. Like, actually, you know what, God? I think I'm good. Like, just I'm good. And when I released that thing, boom, next day, I'm gonna say Saturday, I met the founder of an edtech company. If you know, I've been playing in AI and generating my own GPTs and helping teachers and professors use those things to kind of lighten their administrative load so that they get to actually like engage and do the work of like loving on children and teaching them and interacting with them and building character. And so randomly on a Saturday in Connecticut at a Sow Wing, big, beautiful Irish festival, I meet this ed tech guy. What? Random, so random. Next day, boom, I meet a college professor and a human who kind of has her hands, eyes, and ears in all of like education and Nassau. Like, this is what happens when it's no longer a focus and you're not trying to do it on your own power. Like, the peace that comes. But again, where is the first place you have to start? You have to get grounded. You have to sit in that alone time with yourself and like sometimes talk to yourself like, what do I want right now? And is the life that I'm currently living in alignment with the things that I want? If not, why not? And how do we make it happen? Like, how do we shift it? And so I shared this morning on my live that one of the first things that God, I think, is going to like kind of spring up in you are your gifts and your talents. He's going to start revealing some of the things that you're really good at. Because those things are the things that bring you energy. Those are the things that bring you joy. Those are the things that if someone asked you to do them and they never paid you and you never had to worry about money again, you would do them all day long for free, don't care. Those are your gifts. Those are your talents. And I think it's there that we begin to like take risk. And once we start taking those risks, God opens up a little bit more and a little bit more about who he's called us to be and where our identity lies. And I think the last step, the last piece of this puzzle is us figuring out what our purpose is. Like, what is your purpose? Well, I can't find my purpose if I'm running and chasing everything under the sun. I cannot. I can't. I can only find my purpose if I set my intentions and I sit myself down and ask God, who have you created me to be? What do you think I'm supposed to be doing? But again, that comes from first identifying those gifts. Because I think those gifts are the things that are going to lend themselves to your purpose. They're going to help you understand that, dang, all those things that happened in my life that I thought they were so bad and horrible, like God had a purpose for those things. Those things were done intentionally to help me realize who I am and whose I am. I can look at all the things that have happened in my life, and honestly, some of the responses I could have had, I could have developed an addiction to drugs. I could have, I'm be honest with you, I could have same-sex attraction just because I was, molested and touched inappropriately by men so early in my life. Like it could have flipped the script. There's so many consequences, outcomes, and choices that I could have made if I didn't decide I'm going to try Jesus. Like for real. I'm going to really try. I'm going to read the word. I'm going to put it into practice. And as God continues to reveal his word to me, because we're never going to understand it in totality ever. Just stop trying. I mean, try, but like, it's not going to happen. Don't worry about it. But putting it into practice, that is the only thing we've been asked to do. go out, make disciples, baptize them in the name of the Father, right? And then teach them all the things I've commanded you. Okay, great. That's it. We not end world hunger. We're like, we don't gotta stress ourselves out trying to hit these like crazy benchmarks in our lives. What are your gifts? What are you good at? Just hang out there. That's it. Just hang out there. I tell you, like, Nicole knows, like, I've been all over the place. Like, oh, I like this. I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to do that. This year, I was like, God, I need help, please. I just want to focus on writing. I just want to focus on writing. Like, just, I know I can do a lot of things. In this season, I just want to focus on writing. God, please, just help me. Because I got the ADHD and I'm all over the place. Just help me be still and focus on writing. And you got to go on my feet. You got to understand, like, this is when I focused on writing, doors, walls going down, doors swinging wide open. The collaboration, the relationships, the lifelong sisterhood that I've created with the co-authors of More Than Enough. I would have, if you asked me 6 months ago, do you think you be hanging out in a barn in Texas with a cowgirl hat? Like, if you ask me, I would be like, you crazy. That's crazy. But that is what happens when you're okay with leaning into your gift and then just like getting really, really intentional. And so I made a daily habit in the morning times to just sit and meditate and pray and read scripture, at least for 30 minutes of the day in the morning, just to get grounded, and sometimes I have to do this while I'm doing it. While I'm praying, I have to do this so that my brain doesn't, and my thoughts don't start racing. So I'm like, okay, I'm here. I take off my shoes and I like rub my feet on the ground. Like I can go so far in the future. I can get hung up on all these things in the past. There is a peace and a calmness that comes over me when I ground myself in Jesus. So yeah, I've said a lot. Nicole, you here, baby. I wanna thank you for rocking with me, Nicole, because this year's been interesting. Like, I've probably been the most inconsistent with this podcast, I can say, ever since we started this, like, what, 3-4 years ago? Like this, but I'm not even apologetic about it in the way like, oh dang, like, no, like God was like, I'm gonna need you to focus on this. And I need you to put this down, and I need you to trust me that when I ask you to pick it back up, you be all right. And I don't know about, I guess I don't know if anybody's like, if you feel what I'm talking about, like, there's sometimes I'm like, no, I can't stop because I started, and my old self, I didn't finish what I started. So I got to finish what I started. And God's like, but I started it, not you. Stop playing. I started that. That was all me. You bugging. You was a part of it, but I started. You good. You can put it down because it's mine. And when I tell you to pick it back up, just pick it back up and go where I tell you to go. And that's what we've been doing with this podcast, honestly. Like, and the new direction, I feel like, and it was so wild. Like, we both were like, I think more humans need to know how to reduce their stress. Because with the incorporation of technology and the social media, like, there's a lot of noise. Not all of it is bad either. Like, it's a lot of good noise. Right? Like, I'm not gonna say it too loud because my kids might hear me. But they're yelling and screaming and fighting with each other. If you know, like, my struggle with fertility and childbearing, like, that is good noise. It's not always pleasant, but I'm gonna say it's grateful noise. I'm grateful. And that is a noise I can be grateful for. But I think we have to get back to basics. We have to become okay with being alone, become okay with being by ourselves, and being left with our own thoughts. Over the last month, I could feel myself purposely trying to distract myself. Even when I knew, like, I set this time for me and God, I would oversleep. I would wake up, and instead of reading or praying or sitting and meditating, I would go on social media. Like, I was making all these choices. And then when I got to this point where I felt so overwhelmed mentally, I felt like I'm gonna snap on somebody, and I like it's gonna happen without warning. Like, I'm not even gonna know. A kid gonna come in the room, and then boom, now I'm on the news. Like, I'm arrested. Like, it was getting that bad because I had stopped intentionally setting time to sit with God and get grounded. Like, that's a necessity for me. It's not a luxury. Like, it is legit a necessity. When I don't have it, whew, like my kids could tell you. They'd be like, "Mama didn't have her quiet time today." I don't think so. I don't think so. You see the one? No, I don't think. Mommy, did you read your Bible? No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. No, did you meditate? I didn't see you meditate. I didn't see you go in your room and you meditate. I didn't see you meditating. I didn't. No, I didn't hear the music when you meditate. I didn't hear the music. I didn't hear the meditation music. No. Your energy is off, lady. Your energy is off. Your energy is off.
Thank you for tuning in to 30 Minutes of Power. We hope you found today's episode informative and inspiring. To stay connected with us and continue the conversation, follow us on Instagram at 30 Minutes of Power or email us at azironsharpensiron@gmail.com. Don't forget to visit our website at azisi.org to learn more about our mission and how you can get involved. Remember, your power can make a difference in the world. Let's be folks out there using our power to empower others.
30 minutes of power.